welcome back to a brand new episode of Virtual Coffee. My name is Alexa Collier, and on this podcast, we showcase small and local businesses from around the world. We interview the owners and founders of those businesses, and they share their experiences, advice, and stories. Now, with me today are Amy and Jana Burkhardt. Amy is the founder and owner of her family business, Unwined On White, and Jana leads their yoga program. Unwined On White is a local business here in the Wake Forest, North Carolina area. They are an upscale wine lounge and yoga studio. Now, I've been to Unwined On White a few times with my husband and friends, and we enjoy it every single time. I highly recommend checking out their rooftop area if you do get the chance to visit. Now, on this episode, Amy and Jana share their journeys with the business and how it is working as a family unit. It was fun to chat with them, and I know you'll enjoy this episode. Before we hear from them, as always, if you can follow Virtual Coffee on Instagram, Facebook, all the social medias, it's all at Virtual Coffee Podcast, and give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. That all just helps others discover the podcast and then discover the small businesses that we feature. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Now let's hear from Amy and Jana. Welcome, Amy and Jana. Thank you so much for being on Virtual Coffee.
It's great to be here.
Thank you. We're excited to talk with you.
Awesome. And I love when two people are on. It always adds a new dynamic, and I love it. Well, would love for you to just introduce yourself. Maybe, Amy, you can go first, and then Jana would love you to jump in as well. Maybe just a brief intro of who you are, a little bit about your business, and then we can kind of dive in from there.
Absolutely. So I am Amy Burkhardt, and along with Jana, who is also joining us today, our daughter. We are the heart and soul behind Unwind, where we blend wellness and community in a enjoyable way. Created a unique space where you can find your zen in a yoga class, relish fine wines and craft beer, and connect with like-minded folks.
And I'm Jana, and I kind of focus a little more on the yoga side of things. So I am the yoga director as an official title here at Unwined.
I always love asking, how did this start? Because I love everyone's unique answer to this. Sometimes it's, we started making a product in our kitchen and then we started selling it. Sometimes it's, I had this amazing idea. I've always wanted to own a business and went from there. How do you go from not having a store to then opening a store, going yoga and wine, combining it? Like, what were the beginnings of this idea?
Really, it does go back quite a ways in terms of sort of nebulous idea that my husband and I, Brian, we've always sort of talked about a business of some sort, a family business of some sort, but it never really had any sort of definite plan necessarily. And then when we relocated to North Carolina from Ohio, I was practicing law in Ohio and decided when we moved to North Carolina that I was going to table that side of my life. And so it was a little bit of, what to do next. And so the timing seemed right to look into the business that we had talked about over the years. So we actually decided we wanted to relocate to Wake Forest specifically because we love the historic downtown section of Wake Forest, and it really reminded us of the town that we came from in Ohio in many ways. So at that stage, there wasn't quite as much going on in downtown Wake Forest as there is now. So it was exciting to kind of dream a little bit about what might be a good fit in that historic corridor, if you will. And so I had this passion for wine and learning more about it and visiting places and all of that fun stuff. And so that was where I sort of put my energies. We came up with the location in terms of purchasing the building. And so that was a very time-consuming process to get exactly the right place and the timing to be right and all of that. So it was definitely years in the making. And then while that was kind of all going on, Jana was had decided to embark on her yoga journey and yoga teacher certification. And so we decided to kind of merge things together. So I can turn it over to her to talk about that part of why we wanted to do this and how she was an integral part.
So one of those unique things for us having such very different pieces being brought together, it just was this opportunity to create connection and to build that community. And so it was one of those things that we felt so wholeheartedly about as that family business, and kind of extending that to our space was that with yoga afterwards, people could hang out and just have that comfortable, cozy space where they could share to that community and build relationships and all of that good stuff. So that was a huge piece to us as we kind of started thinking further about how we wanted to combine those two things together. I think one of the other pieces that we really felt super passionate about as we were building or deciding what building to pick was the rooftop piece of it, that we wanted to have that rooftop access. That was just like a pick this and move forward. If we couldn't have the rooftop, it wasn't the right fit type of thing. And it was so funny hearing from the downtown Wake Forest people after that fact that were saying, oh, did you know that our vision plan actually has in drawings a rooftop space? And that was something that just was kismet, because we had no idea that that was something that the town of Wake Forest had dreamed up, and it just seemed to fit so perfectly with what we wanted to do. So that rooftop space has just been a huge part of our story too.
Yeah, and that rooftop is amazing. I've sat up there with friends several times, and it's really fun. You get to see the White Street, and it's cool to people watch and chat up there. So we love it. I love how naturally it seems the business has kind of evolved, right? Like Amy, you've always had this idea, and then bringing Jana in seemed like it was a natural progression, which is awesome. I always love the origin stories. Yeah, again, love the natural progression, and I love that, to be clear to the audience, you don't have to do yoga to get your wine. You can go there just for the wine. Like I said, I've done that with my husband, Nathan, several times. I particularly love that it's an atmosphere that is comfortable. Like you don't walk in there thinking, oh, I have to know everything about wine, right? Like you can just go in, get a glass and sit down. Amy, was that an intentional atmosphere to create? Like you said, you're learning about wine yourself. So how has that journey been for you with the wine in particular and kind of creating the atmosphere that you wanted?
Yeah, so I did do some training prior to opening, so that I felt like I I wanted to make sure that there was a little bit of, I guess, background or knowledge, that I was not just, opening up a storefront and had no idea what I was doing. But that's the thing about wine, though. It's just constantly changing, and every vintage is different, and new locations for vineyards are cropping up all the time. So it's just a constant journey, but it's awesome. And we've also incorporated travel into it as well, with taking some groups to Italy twice, and we this year did a wine-focused river cruise on the Rhine River in Europe. And so we're definitely excited about, some upcoming travel plans. But that's the thing, I guess, the point of it's just a lifelong learning journey, and we want people to come along with us on that. And we, even if it's not jumping on a cruise ship or something along those lines, like a major trip like that, but, just even coming to a wine class where for 2 hours you're going through the various sections of whatever wine region we might be focused on. So, and to that end, back to creating that environment in the space, just for somebody stumbling in, never knew we were there. So we do offer wines by the glass, and all of those we welcome people to taste, so that hopefully you're learning a little bit. I do try to mix those up so that it's not always the same thing. And, like I'll try to throw in an interesting varietal that somebody may not have ever tasted, because there's no harm, no foul. You're able to taste it on a complimentary basis and decide for yourself and go from there. So yeah, and then, we do monthly tastings as another way to try to get people a little bit outside of their comfort zone and trying new things.
That's awesome. And I know you guys have a lot of events, right? Like book clubs are hosted there. I know you've had small businesses set up booths in that yoga space at one point. Like I love that too. It's not just wine and yoga, it's so much more. And you guys really get involved in the local community. Every time I walk by, I feel like something's going on where you're supporting other businesses. So that's really neat as well.
Thank you. That's definitely very an intentional commitment that we have. We love the collaboration, and that's definitely one great thing about the downtown community. We've got some fun things coming up with Jana. You can share about the Run Walk Stretch. We've got the Sip and Shop kind of event that you were talking about with a lot of different small vendors.
I also did want to say the same is true on the opposite end of things. It just because you are a yoga student doesn't necessarily mean you have to stay for the wine either. So we do have a lot of students who are solely yoga people, and that's great too, and we welcome that. We really do strive to kind of honor that lineage and respect for the practice and everything there. So they are very separate pieces that do join together when we can, which is great. With the Run Walk Stretch that we have coming up, we're really excited. We've paired a lot of different events with other small businesses. And so this one in particular will be joining Main Squeeze and offering smoothies at the end of the run and then the stretch or the walk and the stretch, depending on preference for people. So that's actually happening on Sunday, September 8th. So I know this will be after the release of the podcast, but we do always look for different ways that we can bring people in. Another local business that we contribute or participate with quite a bit is Lemon Tree, and we will do a lot of food pairings with them. So maybe there's a yoga class and they have some small bites afterwards that they can stay and enjoy after the yoga class is done. We do those a lot on some Friday evenings. So we have some upcoming for October, November timeframe that we're excited about.
Awesome. That's exciting. And I'll be sure to post about those events too when this episode comes out as well. Jana, for the logistics of the yoga, so for folks listening who are in the area and are like, oh, that sounds interesting. How does that work? Is it typical membership like other yoga studios? Can you drop in? Tell us a little bit about what the sign up process is like.
Yeah, absolutely. So we use a scheduling app called Mindbody. And so that is a pretty typical one that you'll see a lot of yoga studios use, which is great because you have your one account and you're able to favorite a studio, but you're able to find a lot of different places from that one app. And so that has been a great thing for us. So you can sign up a lot of different ways. We definitely want to make the yoga practices accessible as possible for everybody. And so we have our 30 for 30, which is our introductory offer that has been one of our shining focuses that we started off with 6 years ago when we opened. So 30 days of unlimited yoga for $30. So that way people can really get to know our instructors and what time frames work for people, what styles they like. And that way they can see what the next step would be that's best for them. So we do have drop-in prices, so $16 for a drop-in. We offer discounts for teachers, first responders, and for students that are 65 and over. And then we also have class passes, so anywhere from 5 to 10 to 20 class passes at a time. And we do also have membership. So yeah, again, like there's so many options for anybody based on what they need. So we can do the membership at a 3-month time frame, or you can commit for the year.
Love different options. So I want to know what it was like kind of launching the yoga side of it too, Jana. So I'm always interested in, you have a passion for yoga. I'm sure you've done trainings or whatnot, and you can tell us your story about that. But how do you go from I like doing yoga to a yoga business, right? Very different things. So what was kind of that journey like? I just love hearing those steps that you kind of went through.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually a middle school teacher. And so there was one word that would be describing me or kind of that would be that teacher space. So yoga came to me through a lot of sports. So I was a figure skater growing up. And so it was one of those things that was shared with me as a way to achieve a goal, to get more flexible, to find better strength on the ice. And it wasn't the whole picture of what yoga truly is. And so after college, after being done with athletics for the first time in 20 plus years, decided that yoga was going to be something I wanted to kind of pursue a little bit more for that balance as I started my middle school teaching career. So through that, practiced for a couple of years more specifically, more targeted to kind of the whole picture of meditation and understanding some of the philosophies behind the practice and some of the ethical, moral standards to live by, which is just so interdenominational. It just connects with pretty much anybody, which is amazing that it just has that versatility and that way to connect in that. From there, I decided I wanted to do my teacher training, and I knew I did want to teach through that teacher training. A lot of people will go in with the mindset of, I just want to know more, the way to really dive deeper. And I knew I did want to come out of that and be able to share the practice, just with how much it had benefited running with breath work and everything for me, how much it benefited just that calm mind, because middle school is stressful and comes with its unique challenges. And so there was just a lot of benefits that I saw in my own life that I wanted to be able to share with others. So after doing my teacher training and teaching for a year, we, again, were kind of getting into that process. One of our first instructors that we connected with had been teaching for a while. And so I really relied on her a lot. She's still teaching with us. Her name is Beth, and she's fantastic. But we relied on her expertise of both the community and just having teaching history for making sure that we're making all the right decisions. And so there was a lot of choices about what styles of classes would we want to offer, what time frames made sense for our community, and just that what was something that was going to set us apart, what was going to make us unique. We are not a hot studio. We definitely are not going to be the place that is all about some of the acrobatic pieces that you might see on social media, or in that way, we are very much in that mindset that anybody can practice yoga. It does not matter if you are sitting on your mat for the whole hour and using that time as just a space to meditate and to take a breath and to find a little bit of peace in your world, or it is moving for the first time after an injury, or it is kind of building that like post-pregnancy body back, or whatever it is for you. There's just so many different groups of people that we have that we're able to serve in our community, which is, I think, helping us live out that initial goal of saying we're going to design a schedule where everybody is going to find something that's going to work for them, that focuses on proper alignment, feeling safe in the postures, feeling empowered to try new things, and wanting to just continue to build an encouraging atmosphere. As going through my teacher training and pulling my parents along to take yoga classes with me, I think we just discovered that for us, that teacher who was just so supportive and could kind of whisper towards you in your ear to say, hey, try this instead, and really just went that extra mile to connect with you, made a difference. And so that's something that we try and encourage with all of our instructors.
I love that. A lot of great points in that. And thank you for sharing your journey. I love that you're very confident in the purpose of your type of yoga and the yoga atmosphere that you're creating at Unwined on White, because it can be very intimidating at other yoga studios where half their classes are super hot, hot yoga. And then there's like the one twice a week that's more like common stretching. But what if I want that common stretching 5 times a week, not just the one time that they offer it, which that business model is fine, right? I also enjoy hot yoga every once in a while, but I love that you're sticking with the why that you feel passionate about and aren't trying to do everything, because that can get overwhelming for your customers. And like I said, scheduling is hard, like especially with 9-to-5 jobs and if you have kids and stuff. So I love how, like I said, how confident you are in this is the type of yoga we want to provide to the community. This is the atmosphere. and your customers know that that's what they'll get, and they can rely on that and they can trust in that. So I love that aspect of it. I also love that you shared your journey from passion to teaching to business, yoga business. I always reflect after recording these episodes, and it's such a good reminder that nothing happens overnight. It's so easy to reflect and say, oh, Unwined on White, like what a successful business. How did they do that? Like, how do you just get into success like that? And it's a lot of hard work and a lot of time, a lot of challenges, successes, ups and downs. And it's such a good reminder because it can be so overwhelming when you're in just any business space trying to do something that you're passionate about. It can be so overwhelming trying to reach that end goal that you have, like quote unquote end goal, and just knowing that it really is one step at a time. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Amy, on your end, would love to know maybe some of the challenges you've experienced with running a business. You can take that question as either hurdles you've overcome or even just advice you might have for other business owners who are looking to get started, especially since you have that storefront experience, right? You're primarily in person, whereas some small businesses are primarily online, but you're the opposite. So what perspectives have you had on that?
The original challenge, I think, as Jana mentioned earlier, was the rooftop. We had just a very long construction time frame because of that. A lot of people kind of would walk by and like, oh my gosh, they're still under construction. Like they ripped off a perfectly good roof off of this building to do what? And, it was a lot of just perseverance in that we had a vision and we were going to stick with it. And, as we mentioned, there was an ability for us to start the yoga building community at another location while we were still under construction. So we also kind of took advantage of, all of the fun events that Wake Forest does, the street festivals, the Friday Night on White, and we would sit there with a table outside of our building, with all of the paper over the windows that, nobody could really tell what was going on inside. We started talking to people, and I think it was such a testament to a leap of faith that the community had in us, because speaking of the Friday Night on White, we offered our reservation for the upcoming year. We didn't even have a roof on our building at all at that point, but we sold rooftop reservations and we sold out for the next year. So, just being able to have that vision, and as you pointed out, Jana has been very focused and consistent with her vision with the yoga side of things. So I guess in terms of advice, it's having that vision and persevering even when things seem crazy to other people. And then, you have to kind of roll with what life throws at you as well. And, perfect example of that is COVID and having to, pivot to initially online classes for yoga. And we did virtual wine classes and, all the different things that obviously lots of businesses did. But, we were pretty new, had not been open all that long when we had to try to navigate that whole area. So that, like I said, it's just knowing what your vision is and sticking with it when life throws different curveballs.
I like that you started with the rooftop, because I'm just thinking, like, I'm sure you've had no experience with construction on a rooftop, but I'm sure now you have a lot of insight and information on that. And it's a good example of, you have this vision for wine and yoga and you've succeeded in that. But then thinking about all those things that you've also had to learn how to handle or have a conversation about with contractors and stuff, right? Like all that business stuff that you've had to learn, and you do. Like you said, you take it one day at a time and you figure it out and you ask for help and you get advice and you just go from there to pursue the vision that you have. You mentioned rooftop, renting that out. So is that another aspect of Unwined on White? Can you rent out the space? Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So apart from special events, we have had a lot of interesting events over the years. So yes, the simple answer is yes, we do rent out the space. Now, it has its challenges as well, because, you can rent out the space 6 months in advance with the plan to have a rooftop event, and then Mother Nature jumps in and has a different idea. So we do pivot in those situations as well and move things indoors. Then we also have to be mindful of our yoga schedule, because we can't bring a rooftop event indoors if we've got a yoga class going on. So yeah, there's a lot of nuances that we have to think about whenever we do enter into a rental situation. But we've had, honestly, I've lost count of how many people have done proposals on our rooftop. That seems to be a popular thing, and we're here for it. We love it. But, kind of beyond that, we've had then people that have had their proposal on the rooftop, have then had the rehearsal dinner prior to the wedding, and then have even now followed up and had a baby shower. Same people in different progressions of, their lives. And we have a team of people that are open to whatever sort of event, birthday parties. We've done a birthday party on New Year's Eve. Typically we're not open, but they wanted to rent it out and have a New Year's Eve bash, and it was actually pretty decent weather, so they were able to utilize the rooftop. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we have to work through just because of the unique situation. But we love talking with people and working out what works best for everybody.
And we've also been able to do some of the rentals where we can combine both pieces. So like a corporate business wants to have a yoga class for their people and then have a meeting followed up or something like that. We've been able to do that as well for people, or even just within our studio space, hosting their meeting for the day there as well. So lots of different ways that we've been able to kind of incorporate that rental piece too.
That's awesome. That's neat with the corporate businesses. That's a cool way to utilize that space, and that's great to know, because just for folks listening who are in the area, yeah, you can rent out that space that you might not think about that, right? Just when experiencing your business at first. Well, I'd love to dive into the future. Maybe Jana, we can start with you, and then Amy would love to hear from you as well. Any future plans you have for both your focuses of Unwined on White? Any future goals you want to share? Even just kind of hopes you have of where you want to take the business next?
I had mentioned earlier that we really try and focus on the whole picture of yoga. And so talking about that moral and ethical pieces of taking yoga off of the mat and what that looks like for people. And so engaging in our community has been a big thing that we want to continue to do. But we started off just in the way that we were growing, doing some karma-based classes or donation-based classes that we were able to really support a lot of local charities that were near and dear to our community's heart. And so we were able to do those, but we'd like to kind of bring some of those things back and also be able to serve in some way within our community. So that's been a focus that our yoga instructors are dreaming of, and that we are hoping to encourage our students to join us in that journey.
Very, very good to know and keep an eye out on as well. And is that your dog squeaking in the background?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I'm a big fan of This Is Real Life, and the dog is welcome on the podcast as well. That's very cute.
Awesome. She's just finding the excitement.
Nice. I love it. Amy, what about you for future of Unwind?
That's a great question that it's always good to have a reason like this to talk about as a family, being the family business, and obviously the fun side of planning for the future we brought up earlier in terms of where's the next Unwind trip going to be and the travel plans and things like that. But you obviously do have to think about maybe the other more practical side of the business that, we need to keep in the forefront as well. And, the one thing that I'm super focused on, we've definitely had some, normal staff changes just in terms of, people going to college and moving and things like that. So I want to be, in the very short term, thinking about, bringing some new people really up to speed. And, also, as I also said, there's just the constant change in wine and beer for that matter. Like, there's just so much change. And so one of my personal goals is to make sure that we're really focused on training our staff. We want to, you come into our quaint shop and you might look around and think, the selection is so sparse, and it's very intentionally selected. That's, we're not trying to be a Total Wine, and we have a small area for storage and that kind of thing. But, we want to also kind of distinguish ourselves that, we are knowledgeable, and, what we don't know, we can find out. I've, really cultivated some great relationships with distributors. So, we love to help out with, if it's somebody that built a new wine cellar and wants to fill it up and things like that, or we've helped couple out with tasting with one of my reps in preparation for a wedding reception, and then supplying things for that. So yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing in terms of cultivating those relationships. But again, back to, we never want to change from being a destination for people to visit on a regular basis. And I do want to throw in one quick comment that was really sort of humbling, as well as, really a good reinforcement of the vision and what we're doing and what we want to continue to do. And it was a Facebook post that one of our customers posted and said that we were their third place. And I saw it, read it quickly, and was like, was that a good thing? And I had to kind of like do a little bit of background on the whole concept of that. And then, I thought that was really cool that was how we were described, and that's what we want to be. So my little research, it goes back to a book, The Great Good Place by sociologist Ray Oldenburg. So basically, a third place is a location that facilitates social interaction outside the people you live with and work with. So, I guess kind of thinking of Cheers, or the, what's the Friends, the Central Perk. So that's a cool thing. And that's what we want to be in our community, is, someplace where people can come and relax. You don't have to necessarily be interacting socially, but just kind of being there and being a part of that community, and then bringing in the other local businesses to join in on those types of things is what we're all about.
Great. I love that concept of third place. That's really cool. I'm glad you dug into that comment and figured out what that was. That's awesome. Like we mentioned throughout this whole episode, just the atmosphere, the community you're building with your business, you can feel it walking in. Like, I'm not a huge drinker, and I have no problem going in there with my husband or friends, and I'll have a glass of water. They'll indulge in the wine. And it's perfect. Like, it's an awesome place to still sit and chat. You don't feel like you have to engage in the alcohol by any means. So it's just a nice place to go and sit and chat like you were describing. So that's great. A couple more questions here. I wanted to ask, how is it working as a family? Any surprises that have come about, or, positive, negative, I don't know. But what is that like? I don't often have a family unit on the show.
Well, it can be challenging. Absolutely. I'm sure Jana will concur on that one. But it's also, just that reassurance that, that we're all there for each other, and, we're not out, tossed out to sea and sink or swim kind of a thing. We're in this together, and we support each other. The important things that I think we've learned over the years, maybe not always so good in putting them into practice, but, it is important to have the boundaries and the expectations. And, we have a weekly call that we get on, that we're pretty good with sticking with it. Sometimes we have to change the time a little bit, but, just to have those check-ins, but then, to also be able to, when that call ends, be able to be a family and talk about other things and do other things. And, we have other people in the family that, are not necessarily as involved, absolutely, or, for whatever reason, location and that type of thing. So, but, so we have to be mindful. They don't want to sit around and listen to us talk about shop and, that kind of thing. So that's another dynamic that you always have to kind of keep in mind, of knowing your audience and planning things accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that sums it up pretty well. I think we all have had our seasons of like, oh, this really big thing in my world is going on outside of the business. And so I need to step back just a little bit, and you're stepping forward, and vice versa. That has certainly been the case for us in times. And so that has been nice to, again, know that you've got someone who cares just as equally about the success and that. And I think it's a fun legacy. I keep talking about, all right, that's my retirement plan, is I'll take everything over, but you guys stick it out for a while longer so I can get there. And so it's definitely awesome to learn from and to watch these, kind of as that younger person in the room, watching some of the ups and downs that have happened throughout the years, and just noticing and learning from them has been amazing. So
those are great points. It seems like you guys have found a great dynamic, clearly. And I also love that, not that you've like completely split responsibilities, but it seems like you kind of both have your areas of focus or areas of passion. And I'm sure that helps too, where, Jana, you're kind of the expertise on yoga, Amy maybe more on the wine or the front half of that business, which is neat. That's a cool way to do it as well, and to find that dynamic that works. The last question I end every episode with, would love to hear from both of you on, is, in this moment, what is your proudest accomplishment so far? And it can be as simple as Unwined on White, that's it. Or maybe it's on a completely different topic. It doesn't have to be related to the business. Just kind of right now, in this moment, proudest accomplishment so far.
I would say on the yoga end of things, just being able to, again, come back to that connection and community piece. We have had clients who have been with us for all 6 years who just have supported and encouraged us along the way. And so being people who started out with a pretty big post-surgery on a knee injury or things like that, and have found a lot of growth and success in their mobility and their strength. And so seeing people's growth throughout that has just been amazing to watch, that they keep coming back, they see the benefits, and that they're excited to continue their growth.
My proudest accomplishment is probably, the thing that I touched upon with the third place, and just that community aspect, and the fact that I don't think we officially commented on this earlier, but Brian and I actually live in the Wilmington area now, not in Wake Forest. So Jana is the local Burkhardt, and we're sort of doing this. We come back. It's not that far. We come back frequently. We have a nice place to stay at Jana's house when we come. So it is, with the last couple of years, been a little bit of a transition with being physically distant, but maintaining the connections nonetheless. And I think that is attributed to that we've built a great team of people that are doing the day-to-day things that, we just would not be able to pull this off without them. So I got to give a shout out to everybody on the Unwind team. They are, the face of it most of the time when Brian and I are not able to be there, and obviously Jana teaching school. So yeah, we're pretty proud of that group of people that have been with us, and even the new people, we're excited to have them on board. And so, yeah, I think that sums it up.
I think a lot of our customers are coming in because they know who's working, and they love catching up with those people too. So that has continued to cultivate and even carry forward. I mean, I know we mentioned with COVID and the fact that we were able to do some pivoting. I mean, without that community support, we would not have survived. And so just being so thankful for our community too, and the support that they've provided through everything, and just been up for the journey with us, and our little nuanced changes, but have been there to support along the way.
We could do a whole second episode on the behind the scenes and logistics of running the business, Amy, with especially you guys in Wilmington. That'd be a cool thing to just go deeper on. But congratulations on everything you've both achieved so far with Unwined on White, and will continue in the future. And I'm excited to watch the business continue to grow and create more and more of a community in the area and beyond. So yeah, thank you so much for being on Virtual Coffee. Before we sign off, where can people find you? Definitely shout out the physical location and then any social medias as well.
So we are at 153 South White Street in downtown Wake Forest. So you can find us on our website is unwindnc.com. And then on Instagram and Facebook, Unwined on White there as well. So we'd love to have you following along. We do a newsletter that goes out twice a month, and you can on our website sign up for that newsletter so you always know when different events and things are coming up. There's, again, like you mentioned early on in the episode, there is something going on almost every day. There's something different. So we would love to have you in. And I did also want to take a second and offer a promo code to anybody who's looking to try out yoga. Like I mentioned, we have a 30 for 30 introductory offer. That is certainly the way to go if you have never been to Unwind before as your first time visiting, because that will go away if you've taken a class once. So if you're new to us, we'd love for you to try that first, just so you can take advantage of the offer. But then the promo code is capital virtual, so the capital there, and then a capital C for coffee. So virtual coffee is the promo code, and that'll give you 20% off, and that will be on class passes or a drop-in. And so you can decide what works best for you, but we'd love to have you in and take advantage of that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the promo code. I know the audience appreciates that, and I'll put those details in the description of this episode as well. But thank you both so much for being on and sharing both of your stories. And this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And again, thank you so much for having Virtual Coffee with me.
Yes,
thank you for inviting us to do it. It's been great.